Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever it is. Okay. Hi, Melanie here. Create, that's what I do. This is going to be what is today's date? March, I think it's the 5th or the 4th, Friday, 2026. So, this is going to be a tutorial. Yeah, it's going to be a tutorial on needlepoint and how to do the continental stitch. Now, I reference a book, Reader's Digest, 1979, some crafting to needlepoint, and I'm just using some canvas here. This is 14 count canvas, needlepoint canvas, to show some of these stitches. And today it's going to be the continental stitch, right? And if you want to, you can zoom in, but that is the book there. Okay, I'm working on a embroidery hoop, so you need one of those to get the fabric, the needlepoint fabric, the canvas, pretty tight on. You want it to be like, you know, something like that, okay? Where it's taut, that's the word, taut, T-A-U-T, on the canvas, and it feels pretty firm. It's not like the fabric is moving around and okay, so let's get it. So here go the needle A and the thread. You could knot this at the end, but you don't have to. There's a couple of ways to do this, but you come up from the back. Let's take a square, any one. This old piece of canvas I had from a kit that I'm not using, a needlepoint kit. You'll come through, and you know what? Let me straighten out the camera there. And on the back, there's this little piece. Let me move the book too. Okay, there it is. That was it. There's this little piece of the yarn. And the yarn is going to come like so. Don't mind this. This is just some old kit that I was using, but I'm not using anymore. So I figured I'd use it for this. Okay, you can use wool, embroidery, floss, acrylics, different fabrics, experiment, play around, but you're coming up through there. And here is the squares. So needlepoints worked on the grid. And this is what's called a diagonal stitch. So the continental, commonly known as the tent stitch, is a diagonal stitch. So you're going to come up, there's this little thread in the back, you're going to hold on to about an inch, half an inch of the thread. And you're going to go right into the diagonal. So you're coming up on one and going to go on two. And right to the left, the very immediate box, square left of that on the same row, you're going to come up. And you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to come diagonally across. They call them intersections. And go down. And there's your stitch, basically. That's it. You're going to come up the very next box on the left, square. Bring your thread through. And then you're going to come down that square right there. Okay, you're going to come up on the very next square to the left of the stitch in that same row. Pull your needle through, and then right here is where you're going to go down. And that's the 10th stitch, and you're working over this thread that I'm holding in the back. And you're just going to work over that. You go to the very next square, that's a come up on one. The needle comes up on one, and then it goes down. I hope this is straight enough. On two, which is the very next square diagonally. And this is how you work this. You're going to come up the next square, pull the needle, and you're going to come down the next right diagonally across, and there's your continental stitch. Okay, so you want to start the next row. Let's say you're moving in the direction going upward. Okay, you want to line up your stitches, so you're going right here, but you're working in the box below. You wouldn't work from here because that would put the stitch over, okay, over there. You're going to go the one right before it, because you're working over that intersection. You come up on one, and you're going to go down in the very next diagonal square there, and that's down on two. So you go to the very next, so you're working in the row below, not into the yarn, but into the space that's between the little space that's there. And then you're going to go directly across, and this continental stitch is called a diagonal stitch, and these are called diagonal stitches. Come up on the left, on the row below, hopefully between, and you can see I'm poking around, and it's okay. Come up one, and then I'm going to go down two. I'm going to come up one, that's one way you can work it. Okay, that's the standard. Come up one here. Okay. And then I'm going to come down the second square there on the diagonal, and this would be the last stitch in the row. Okay, and that's your continental stitch. That's it. And the stitches, could be they are what they are. They're okay. So right now, that's how the continental stitch is. You see, you just pull the thread back towards, you don't have to pull it, you just go right back towards where you were starting from. That's one way to do it. If you do it a different way, you might get little ridge lines, and that's okay. That's a stitch also. Okay, I mean, it's not, there's no hard and fast rules, I think, really, to needlepoint, except for however you want to work it out, but these are the standard ones. This is the continental stitch, also known as the tent stitch. You're going to come up on one, right there, and then you're going to go down on two, which is the diagonally right across. Okay, this is the tent stitch, also known as the continental stitch. What will you need? You're going to need needlepoint canvas or plastic canvas, something that has a grid with the squares, tapestry needles, and some type of fiber. This is what I'm using right now is an acrylic and a wool blend yarn, if I remember correctly. And this is also a 14 count canvas that I am. So hopefully you can see that this has come up there. You're going to pull the needle through, and you're going to go directly to there. This is the direct part there. Okay, that's the continental stitch. Ta-da! Working in the horizontally, right? If you want to work this stitch, now let's see, this what it should look like on the back, okay? This is what it looks like. It looks like that. You can see it with the old design on there. It looks like that. All right. This whole kit that I got from the Value Village, and it's very, so I'm tightening up the, 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 the fabric, pulling it around the embroidery hoop so I can keep it tight. And so that's the continental stitch vertically. This is what it's going to look like. This is horizontal, sorry. And this is what it would look like vertical. Let's get that yarn out of there. Okay. And you pretty much want the fabric to be somewhat consistent to that and the back. Because if you do the stitches differently, they'll do different things. It all depends on the level you want the fabric, I guess, or the yarn to be at, right? So here is 1 and 2 going downwards. So I'm just going to go underneath to the left, right there. Oh, come up on 1, go diagonally across, and that is 2. So it's counted in steps, letters, or numbers, usually numbers. Come up on 1, okay, and then you're going to go down on 2, which is diagonally right there, right across, not into the yarn, but in that little space there. And there is your vertical working. See where I'm coming up here. Right, that's where the needle is. Oops, it fell. Okay. And then that's here. There's 1, and there is 2, and there is 1, and there is 2. Ta-da! Right, now some suggestions is this. Let's say, you're pulling the yarn across every time, and it can feel like you're wasting the yarn. But if you don't mind a little bit of line ridging, and you like that particular look, you can kind of spare yourself some more use on the yarn. But this is the standard way, so the stitches all puff up the same way. So the recommendation is you don't want to hold the stitches. So let's say I wanted to go over here now, continue. Oh, I changed my mind. I want to continue this square here. I just moved the yarn right over. And then I will be working over that thread. I didn't stop and re-thread the yarn or anything. I'm just working over it. Okay, this is the continental stitch, also known as the tent stitch, commonly called the tent stitch. And you see I go right to the right there. There's another one. And I'm going to work right into the box there. A bit tight. And then here, I'm going to start the row again. In the right box? No, it's here. But if I was, I'd just go and go over that stitch anyway. You know, just go back and do the stitch. There's one, and then here's the second one. Oops, it didn't come through. And there is the stitch. So sometimes it's a little tight. Just get it through. If you poke the fabric a little bit, it might be okay, but you don't want to. You really want to go through. There's that little tiny space that's right there. Let's see. It's right there, okay? And that's where I want to get the yarn through. And you can feel it as you're going through the needle. You can feel the needle going through where that space is. And right in here is the next space I'm going to get to. Right in that corner of the stitch. And quite frankly, this has to be some of the easiest needle fiber I have ever done in my life. It's really simple to do the 10th stitch. Let's take a look. You can see where this stitch is a bit tight. I pulled it down a bit. And then this one's a bit loose. But, you know, it's tension and practice, right? And it comes pretty quickly, actually. And it helps when you're not holding this up this way, but that's the tutorial. So you can see I'm just moving around the yarn. I'm not pulling it, taking it off, pulling it out, you know, knotting it, trying to do anything. I just like, okay, I just move my thread over right to where I wanted to fill in the stitch. Okay, here's a good mistake. See, I missed this this area here. I just missed this. This is where the stitch is supposed to go, but I went directly up by mistake. So I am going to take this out. You could try going back through the hole, but because I'm going into the other box, for me, I'm like, I'm probably going to puncture. I try to go back through the square. There's a chance that I would, if I try to put the needle back through the square to get the thread out, there's a good chance I'd get into the other yarn. So I was like, let me just take it out and rethread. And then now you see where the little piece is. That's where I was supposed to go. Okay, that's the continental stitch. Let me look. That's the continental stitch right there, also known as the 10th stitch. Yay, yay, they got a square. And it is done. Yep, it's done. So, yeah, that is the 10th stitch, the continental stitch. Here's the back. This is an old pattern, don't mind that. And there's the back. This is how I finish out mine. Just gonna kind of thread the top stitches through the top of the yarn there. And now it's done. Okay. Yay. So there you have the continental stitch, also known as the 10th stitch. Did a little bit of the vertical. Either direction, it's fun. There's, you know, I'll go, maybe I'll do a more total review a bit later, but the next stitch I will be looking at for our next tutorial will be what's known as the needlepoint mosaic stitch. Okay, let's see if I can get it clear. Stitch. So let me get that. So yeah, right there. So the next stitch we're going to be reviewing, that I'll be doing a tutorial for, is, okay, let's turn it around to get it straight. All right, this stitch right here, I put this on plastic canvas, is known as the mosaic stitch. Okay, this is the mosaic stitch. I'll be going over this next tutorial how to needlepoint the mosaic stitch. All right, this I put on plastic canvas, worsted weight yarn, and acrylic. And this is how to do the next tutorial, if you're interested, is how to do the mosaic stitch. Let's see. Okay. This is also the mosaic stitch here. The one that is in the green. This is the mosaic stitch in this green, pink, and green. This is the next stitch that we will be going over. This one right here, it's the mosaic stitch. That's not the full square. How to needlepoint the mosaic stitch. Okay? Thank you for joining me. Hope you have a great day. Wonderful greetings, and appreciate you being here. Oh. And next tutorial, how to do the mosaic stitch, how to needlepoint the mosaic stitch. Okay, hope that was helpful. Have a great day. Thank you.